I was watching a video by that Danny Tommo guy. Are you guys familiar with him? Let me see if I can dig it out for you. Have a look at this. It's actually quite chilling.
Okay. No more protests. No more marches. No more stage. No more speakers. We need the English lads to make a point.
We need the English lads to... I mean, what you need to do, mate, is rehearse this speech a little bit better. There's way too much pausing going on this. I appreciate this for, like, theatrical effect. He's probably got his script right next to him. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
No more messing around. No more protests.
No more protests.
Needs like some like empowerment mantras, feminist empowerment mantras before, like as he's getting into the speech, as he's getting into character. La 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 la.
A point that unfortunately has to be made. I understand that we all need to keep our heads screwed on, but it's too common now that the dangers that are around our children are prevalent in every corner of this country.
Literally every corner of the country covered in economic migrant invader savages. So they are.
Just today, I've listened to GB News tell the country.
Just today, I listened to a propagandist's channel whose main financial backer was exposed by Hope Not Hate for running a secret Twitter account about 18 months ago that spread disinformation and racist conspiracy theories. Just today, I watched them, ignoring their 9 Ofcom investigations for breaching regulatory guidelines, and I gobbled up their paranoid cherry-picking narrative, and now I think we're under attack. Just today, I did that.
That there are Muslim men living in army barracks.
Yep, they're living in army barracks. Probably because they were booted out of a hotel because of people like this. This is like, how many times have we been saying this? Like maybe like 6 months or a year ago, I remember saying like, as soon as the hotel protests reach a fever pitch sort of thing, and they do shut all of the hotels, they'll have to put asylum seekers somewhere. So they'll have to use like old government buildings or like HMOs, you know, like private rentals. And then people will complain that the local, you know, 1-bed flat or bedsit was taken up by an asylum seeker. Like you can't fucking win. You shut down the hotels. They got to go somewhere. And then people like this are like, oh, I can't believe they're in an army barrack.
So it's time to stop marching. It's time to stop protesting. And it's time that we take a leaf out of the book of our ancestors.
Ugh. Pretty soon, we're going to be into like talk of like Saxons and Normans. That's where this is inevitably is heading. Is like we'll go back further and deeper and darker into more simplistic history, simplistic talk and thoughts of like England and Englishness. It won't be too long before people like this are advocating for or lobbying for or demanding, rioting for the return of like absolute monarchy rule. That's where it will head. It'll be that and a nice blend of like, are you really Saxon? How Saxon are you? You don't really look English to me. You know, we've had enough of uniparty. We've had enough of the con-socialists and Labour. We've tried it. We've tried it the nice way, but the rest of the world are going towards dictators and dictatorships. So why not? You know, maybe we don't need the stability and the iron fist of a sort of veritable dictatorship. Bring back monarchy rule. And I'll be right there at the front like, make Andrew king. Make Andrew Mountbatten Windsor king.
And our forefathers, and we do something to show them that we are not messing around anymore. Because I tell you now, I would rather take one for the team and do what's necessary for this country and for my children than sit back and let these savages...
I was looking into the statistics of attacks on Brits by asylum seekers. Like I saw this video, and he's literally saying, it's enough is enough. It's time to do something. He doesn't specify exactly what that is, but it sounds like, he's had enough of protesting and speeches and marches. None of it's doing any difference. It's not affecting the change that he and his ilk would like to see. And it's not just him, it's a lot of... They always complain about, like, the mainstream media narrative of stuff, but it's all over the mainstream media. He clearly listens to, watches a lot of GB News, but it's also on Talk TV. There's clips of... not the guy that got fired, not Mike Graham. The other guy, Kevin something, he was ranting and raving a bit like, how much more will it take? When is someone going to stand up for the British people against these violent savages?
These savages.
But I was watching this video and I was like, what is the statistics on this? Because we all know how, like, he's right to be angry, or people are right to be angry and concerned, right? When you see a news story about an asylum seeker or a former asylum seeker, as was the case this week, where the guy has gone out into the street and stabbed a guy multiple times, and by all accounts it was, just somebody's fucking dad, so like a postman, a white guy in his 50s or 60s, got butchered. And the guy who they have arrested and charged with doing it was a former Afghan asylum seeker. Like, it's not outrageous to think, well, hang on a second, like, what kind of cultural values have they got if they're coming over here and fucking stabbing people in the street? And so I went on a bit of a research mission, and this will not surprise you, guys, because you're smart people. You tune in every week. So I asked ChatGPT, so, straight off the bat, it's not perfect, but it seems to cite sources, specifically the Office of National Statistics, Reuters, the Home Office. There's a charity here called Asylum Aid. Anyway, I asked it, I said, are the men who are protesting the boats and asylum seekers statistically more likely to murder their own girlfriends and wives than their wives and girlfriends are likely to be raped or murdered by asylum seekers? Right? Because, like, I'm not laughing at, the horror story of, like, the guy being butchered in the street. Obviously, that is abhorrent, disgusting. The guy who did it should be charged, arrested, jailed, etc. Strip him of his title as well, guys, while we're at it. Let him know we're serious. Or maybe Danny Tommo should do that. Maybe that's your next step, Dan. Is if protesting doesn't work, marches don't work, no more speeches, have you tried stripping people of their titles? That's when you're really in trouble, when you really mean business. In fact, just like super quickly, do you know what would be a better punishment, even better than stripping Andrew of his title? Would be if the double barrel like surname Mountbatten Windsor, if that became a title that we give to people who've been like arrested or like convicted of something really fucking like noncy or really bad and embarrassing. It's like stripping the title, like inverted. You just saddle someone with the surname Mountbatten Windsor. You end up fucking up like you're in the magistrate's thing. And they're like, well, Mr. Smith, you were originally just being charged for mortgage fraud. But when the police went to your house to raid your house and like grab your computers and stuff, they actually found footage of you and a 15-year-old girl on there. So now, I mean, originally, like, mortgage fraud was going to be like 4 years in prison. But now we will also be rechristening you Mountbatten Windsor. No more Mr. Smith. Now you are Jonathan Mountbatten. Oh, no! No, please, Your Honour. Please. Anything for that. I'll take another 4 years. So I said, are the men who are protesting the boat's asylum seekers statistically more likely to murder their own girlfriends and wives than their wives are likely to be raped or murdered by asylum seekers? And ChatGPT came back and said women are much more likely to be harmed by current or former male partners than they are likely to be raped or murdered by people claiming asylum. It says, here's why. It dishes out some key facts. It says, in England and Wales, the Office for National Statistics counted 108 domestic homicides in the year ending March 2024. And of those, 66 were killed by a partner or ex-partner. So that's like, roughly 60%, right? And overall, the majority of domestic homicide victims are women. Domestic abuse is widespread. Recent crime survey estimates show over 1 million women experience it in a year. Intimate partner violence is a common and serious risk. There is no robust evidence that people seeking asylum form a group that is substantially more likely to commit violent crimes. Somebody better tell Matt Goodwin and the one-man band that is the Centre for Migration Control in Tufton Street. Somebody better tell those guys, because I'm sure they'll be very, very keen to update and correct their research on this. There's a few other bits about like what the propensity is for refugees, for people who are restricted from earning, for their likelihood to then get into like fraud, benefit fraud, like basically just trying to fucking get by. But then ultimately, like the bottom line that it puts here is, if your question is about risk to girlfriends and wives and daughters, the data indicates that the far bigger statistical danger comes from men they know, current or former partners, than from asylum seekers.
Just